If you are having any kind of time constraint, all you can do is you can skip for a while the MCQ practice of these chapters, but make sure you are done with the NCERT thoroughly. Hello everyone, this is Supriya Dubey, first year MBBS student at GMC Chandrapur. Suppose NEET 2025 and NEET 2026 paper is thrown difficult in front of you, and that too inorganic chemistry is tough. So let's just assume and try to prepare that suppose inorganic chemistry is difficult, then how will we approach the subject? So today I'll be discussing about the chapter-wise approach, NCERT reading, how should we read it, what things we should consider while doing NCERT, and the question practice of which chapters do we need to practice the questions and which chapters can we skip. I'll be speaking something very special about this because a lot of people don't know about this thing. And then lastly, a special tip for IOC because a lot of people find it difficult, and like me too. So let's just move ahead. So the syllabus of inorganic chemistry, it contains 40% in the NEET. That means inorganic chemistry has 40% weightage. So if we consider from 11th standard in P block chapter, right from group 13 to group 18, some things are removed, but I'll suggest you, and that thing I have also followed, we have to do it because we don't know which question can be asked, so better be prepared. And surface chemistry is removed from 12th standard. And if we talk about 11th, we have chemical bonding, P block group 13 and 14, and periodic table from the 11th standard. And the 12th standard we have coordination compounds, DNF block, P block group 15 to 18, and qualitative analysis, that is practical chemistry. Now let's just move ahead towards chemical bonding. What are the things that we should consider while doing it? So the thing is, we have to do the rules and limitation of the theory which is mentioned. There are a lot of theories, and what we tend to do is we just read it and then we forget. But we should learn whatever exact postulates and points are mentioned there, and their limitations too. Limitation are also very important. A lot of questions of statement based are asked. And the second thing is we should know how to find and calculate the formal charge. Question is asked a lot on formal charge, and this is a simple formula based question, so if you will do it, it will be better for you. Thirdly, bond order and bond length question. You have to read and identify whether bond length is asked or bond order is asked. If bond length is asked and bond order is given, you have to reverse the entire sequence, and vice versa. And lastly, the NCERT examples of molecules. Whatever molecules are mentioned in the NCERT, you have to do those examples as it is. This was all about chemical bonding. Now let's move towards P block, that is group 13 and 14. We all know that a lot of order and trends are mentioned, like electronegativity, electron gain, enthalpy, boiling point, melting point, and all that. So we should be thorough with the orders and trends. Secondly, bond angles are there. There are some molecules which are mentioned, and you have to do all the bond angles no matter what, how many are given. Like in some diagrams, 2 bond angles are given. You have to do all that because question such as diagram based questions are also asked, so you should be thorough with it. And third is the reactions. You have to do all the reactions given in the P block. You may think that some of these reactions are unimportant because teachers are also there who speak in the class that if you skip the reactions it will be okay, but you don't have to do that. You have to do inorganic properly, so you don't have to skip the reactions too. And the fourth thing is molecular formula and chemical name. In P block, we have seen there are some molecular formulas such as, if I consider from group 15, H3PO4, you should know that it is phosphoric acid or orthophosphoric acid or phosphorus acid. You should be able to identify and rectify it. And lastly, the uses. I know very few questions are asked on uses, but the questions can be asked, so you don't have to skip it. You have to at least just read it. If you will read before the exams and even tests, then also it will be okay. I'm not telling to learn and do the rectify thing, but even if you will read it, it will be better for you. So this was all about P block. Now let's move towards periodic table. In periodic table, you should be thorough and you should know the entire periodic table, like which element is placed where, what is the entire name of the element, what is the symbol. Like the question can be asked about PR. You should know that this is a praseodymium and you should know about its atomic number. I've personally learned all the atomic numbers and sequence of the periodic table, and I'll suggest the same to you, because it will be better, because P block is a periodic table is a very scoring chapter. Once you are done with the P block, its location, name and atomic number, then it will be scoring for you. Secondly, the general trends. You should be knowing that the size increases and the metallic character also increases as you move down the group. And you should know about the opposite thing, that is non-metallic character, and the atomic radii. It decreases as you move across the periodic table. from right to left. And thirdly, the electronic configuration. You should be able to write the electronic configuration. First learn about the basics, how is it written, and then you can go for the complex elements. So this was all about it. Make sure you do all these 3 things which I have mentioned about the periodic table. Now let's move towards the 4th chapter, that is coordination compounds. In coordination compounds, it goes the same as we told about periodic table. There are a lot of theories such as VBT, Werner theory, CFSE, CFT. You should know about the postulates which are mentioned there. These things are written in the NCERT. You should know all the points and its limitation too. You should not skip the limitation part. It is all that corner of the NCERT which is being asked nowadays. So you should not skip that too. Secondly, the isomerism examples. You should know the simple definition of the isomerism, and whatever specific examples are mentioned in the NCERT, make sure at least you know about them. Because whenever the paper will be made, the examples will be taken right from the NCERT. So at least whatever examples are mentioned in the NCERT, you should be thorough with it. And thirdly, the metal carbonyl. There is a diagram about the metal carbonyl. You should know which bond is synergic, what bond is pi bond, and which one is the sigma bond. The question is asked from that corner too. So you should put some light on that stuff too. So this was all about coordination compound. Now let's move towards the DNF block element. In DNF block, it goes the same as we discussed about the periodic table. You should be able to write the electronic configuration. If not all the series of the transition element, that is first, second and third series, you should be able to write at least of the first series, that is scandium till zinc, and lanthanoids and actinoids, that is F block. Do from scandium to zinc and then entire F block. At least make sure that you are able to write the basic electronic configuration of at least these elements. And then the graph. Focus on the graphs which are mentioned in the NCERT, like which element is on the peak, which element is on the low of that graph. You should be able to identify that element because the question can be asked and those elements can be written in the sequence, that is statement. So you should be thorough with the graph. And thirdly, everything which is written about dichromate and permanganate, K2Cr2O7, KMnO4, that is also very important and highlighted part of the NCERT. You should do it very properly. The reactions which is mentioned, the structure and color of these compounds. Make sure you don't skip this part, okay? So this was all about D and F block element. Now we'll discuss about the P block, that is group 15 to 18. In P block, you know, there are 2 tables given of the phosphorus, oxoacids of phosphorus, and of the nitrogen, that is oxides of nitrogen. You have to do the formula and the name of those elements and complexes which are mentioned in that table. Don't skip those tables. Those tables are very important. Secondly, you have to do all the reactions. You should remember the byproduct. It is the most important thing. Which element is taken and it is put into what element, and what is the byproduct which is made, and which is the main product. You should know all that. Thirdly, the orders and trends. It goes the same. You should know all the orders as I have mentioned previously. And fourth, the bond angles. You should know all the bond angles. There are some diagrams which are mentioned in the NCERT. Make sure at least you know the bond angles which are given in the NCERT. Rest extra angles you don't need to remember. At least do all the angles which are there in the NCERT diagrams. Okay, this much will be enough. Don't go beyond NCERT, at least for inorganic chemistry. Organic, inorganic, NCERT is enough. Whatever diagrams, examples are mentioned, if you do it, that will be great for you. And fifth, the reactions. Whatever reactions are given, I know a lot of reactions are there in NCERT. If you'll write on one page, there will be around more than 40 reactions or 50 reactions, maybe. So you have to do the reactions along with the byproduct. And the 6th point is molecular formula and chemical name. You have to do the molecular formula and chemical name. You should be, like I said previously, should be able to find out and write the molecular formula and the chemical name, and vice versa. And lastly, the uses. You have to do the uses of all the series, that is right from group 15 to 18. You have to do all that. Uses can't be skipped. And lastly, the qualitative analysis and practical chemistry. This is the part which has been added from last year, that is from my batch. So this is the new part. You will not be getting a lot of PYQs, so you cannot solve a lot of questions, but make sure you do this part properly. So what you have to focus on, look, this part is a bit lengthy and we tend to forget as we read because it is of 20 to 25 pages and even of notes, and if you start reading you tend to get confused. So better make sure you focus on these points which I am going to mention right now. You have to notice the color of the compound. What PPT or effervescence is the compound evolving? You should know which color that compound contains. And secondly, the smell. It will be written like rotten egg smell and all that. And lastly, the formula of the compound. Even if you don't know a lot of reactions, you should know the formula of the compound. Like what is the formula of the chocolate brown PPT? You should know that. Same goes for the complexes. Like I said, whatever complex is given, there are not much of the complexes in the qualitative analysis. There are only, I think, 4 to 5 complexes. So make sure you know their names and the oxidation state too. That is also very important. Lastly, the PPT and effervescence that I mentioned. PPT, effervescence and color. The question, if they will make a question, mostly it will be from this corner. And lastly, the byproducts. Byproduct part is also important. Whenever you are doing or reading a reaction, just notice which byproduct is that compound evolving, because this is the question which they make usually. So we are done with the last chapter also, that is qualitative analysis and practical chemistry. Now I will be speaking something about question practice. So look, there are some chapters such as P block and D block. P block I am talking about right from group 13 to group 18. The most important thing is you should be knowing the line by line what is written in the NCERT. NCERT is very important, at least for these 2 chapters. You cannot skip it. If you are having any kind of time constraint, all you can do is you can skip for a while the MCQ practice of these chapters, but make sure you are done with the NCERT thoroughly. Like if I'll take the NCERT, if I'll take one page, if I'll select one paragraph and I'll ask a question regarding that, you should be able to answer it. If you are done till this level for these 2 chapters, and right now if you don't have time, if you skip the MCQ practice, still it will be okay. Or all you can do is you can do the PYQs if you have time. But make sure you are done with the NCERT firstly, because these 2 chapters are like bio. What do we do for bio? We do the NCERT first very properly, and then we move ahead for the MCQ practice. We cannot skip NCERT for these 2 chapters and go and run for MCQ practice. This is not the correct way. First we make the NCERT strongly for these 2 chapters, and then if you have time, then you can go for the MCQ practice. Like for the time being, you can skip the MCQ practice for these 2 chapters. If you have time, then do it. I'm not stopping you. If you have time, then do it. It will be better for you. But yeah, even if you skip, then also there will not be any major problem. And lastly, one special tip I wanted to give about inorganic chemistry is that whenever you are reading any chapter, especially I'm talking about P block and D block such as trends, we all find these 2 chapters a bit tough, especially the trends part, the sequence of the electronegativity, boiling point, melting point. So I'll suggest and refer to you that take a page, make the chart, make a proper table, mention all the groups, write the properties, physical properties which are there on one side, and then write group 6, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 on the other side, and stick that page in front of the wall where it is easily visible. So you can learn it by that way. Instead of spending a lot of time in learning that these things, you can just stick and make a wall note, and then you can do or you can revise it twice or thrice in a day, and then you'll remember within 1 week. This will be very easy. I personally did this, so that's why I wanted to share this tip with you. And now let's just discuss about what things we should keep in mind while reading NCERT. So if I'll start with chemical bonding, we all know that we have to do all those pink boxes which are mentioned in the NCERT. Those are solved examples. We don't have to skip that. It is very important. Then the summary part. I know the summary is a bit big given in the NCERT. I think it is of 1.5 pages of almost all the chapters, but we have to do it. It is very essential. Simple statement based questions can be framed from the sentences which are there in the summary. So we have to do that part also. And then the bond order. Make sure you are able to find out the bond order of the given molecule. No matter what molecule is given, you have to find out the number of valence electrons, and accordingly number of bonding electron minus anti-bonding divided by 2, whatever formula it is, you should be able to find the bond order. This is the basic important thing. Whenever any question is asked, most of the time it is from this corner. So make sure you are able to find out the bond order of whichever molecule is thrown in front of you. And lastly, the shape and geometry. You should be able to differentiate between the shape and geometry. Whether they are asking the shape, first of all read the question very properly. Are they asking the shape or are they asking the geometry? If they are asking the geometry, then you have to consider the lone pair, and then you have to find out what is the geometry of that molecule and all that. So make sure you do this part also. Now moving towards the next chapter, that is P block. So all example summary we have to do. It's the same for all the chapters. Thirdly, physical property table. In P block chapter, you would have seen there are 2 to 3 tables that are orange colored boxes. In your notes, your teacher would have already given some of the physical properties, but still I think 1 or 2 properties are still left, and the question can be framed from that too. So just do one thing, take your notes, take the NCERT, just notice which properties are not there in your notes, and make a proper sequence, that is trend order, and note down in your notebook, and it will help you later while studying so that you will not miss on this part. And yeah, P block and D block specifically, as I told earlier also, we have to do these two chapters line by line. You should understand each line. You should know what is the crux of each line, what that specific line wants to say. So for that purpose, you should be thorough with each line of the NCERT for these two chapters, that is P block from group 13 to 18 and D and F block, same. And then periodic table. Yeah, for this chapter, yeah, solved example and summary. These two things we have to do while reading the NCERT. And moving towards the next chapter, that is coordination compound, solved example, summary. Thirdly, the IUPAC name and structure. Make sure you do the nomenclature part very properly for this coordination compound. Whatever compound is given, you should be able to write its name along with the oxidation state and vice versa. If the name is given, you should be able to make the structure of that molecule. That's it. This was for coordination and DNF, as I've already told. And yeah, in the NCERT, in the DNF chapter, there is a box, there is a chart, and in that chart there is a oxidation state given like scandium Sc2 plus, and then titanium Ti plus 2, Ti plus 3, and whatever color it shows, what color that specific element shows in that oxidation state. You should be able to answer whenever asked. So make sure you go through with that table properly in the NCERT, and yeah, you have to do the line by line for DNF block 2. Moving towards the next chapter, it is P block, group 15 to 18. Same goes as I told for group 13 and 14. So let's move ahead. Lastly, the qualitative analysis, that is practical chemistry. If we don't have NCERT for it, yeah, just make sure whatever points are mentioned while reading NCERT, we have to do all those things. Don't skip these parts, okay? And yeah, as we all know that less than 6 months are left for NEET 2025. I'm speaking specifically for 2025 aspirants. Make sure you study very properly. We all have the 24 hours, but it depends on us how we utilize each and every minute. And yeah, 6 months is also not a very short period. It's a long time. Make sure you find at least 30 minutes for the hobbies which you like, because refreshment of mind is also very important. So you cannot study all the time, that's 24 hours. Take out some time for these things too, so that you stay motivated. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe this channel. So yeah, that's it for the day. Until I see you soon, let's hustle hard.